To celebrate the start of the season, we've teamed up with Sky Bet. Sky Bet understand the emotional roller coaster that's being a football fan. It will lift you up, break you down, and stitch you back together with hope. But we'll do it all again next week because for all the pain of a looming relegation or missed penalty, there's nothing quite like the absolute scenes of a last-minute winner. Not for everyone, for the fans. Sky Bet. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of the League One Lowdown brought to you by the Deck Network. You're joined by myself, Callum and Sam. Good afternoon on this Wednesday, Sam, as we're recording it. Things will change, so we'll date the podcast now. How are we?
All good, my friend. I'm looking forward to chatting some football and getting into our predictions very sharpish this week.
Yeah, no, well, we don't need to do that. Before we get to the predictions, just a reminder that if you are new to this podcast, if your team is new to League One or you just found us, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode of the League One Lowdown, either the preview shows with myself and Sam or the review shows that come out on a Sunday or Monday with Seb and Jamie. Don't miss them. We've got your League One fix here on the League One Lowdown. But Sam... Well, we won't. I think as much as you want to talk about the predictions, I think we should probably not spend too long talking about it because it doesn't reflect particularly well on either of us. Maybe me more than you, but
no. So in total, the scores were pretty dreary. Let's put it that way. You got 2 correct outcomes, which is the lowest score of the season so far, and then I only got 2 correct scores and 2 correct outcomes. So between us, we scored 10 points, which is abysmal. So don't ask us for the lottery numbers at any time soon. Which gave us a new total of I've on 34 points and Callum's on the magical 50 already. So a 16-point lead after 5 match days. So I'm hoping I can narrow that gap a bit further this week and continue my positive momentum.
Yeah, not great from me, but at least I've got a bit of a lead overall. We'll take it. We'll find out how that goes as the season progresses. Just a few things to mention. We're recording this on the Wednesday, so the Carabao Cup second round isn't complete, but as we're speaking, Lincoln, Reading, Doncaster, Barnsley, Port Vale, Wycombe, Cardiff, Bradford, Huddersfield and Wigan all through to the third round and potentially facing some big European names. Mansfield, they are still to play. They've got Everton tonight, so quite the nice match for them. Looking to be the first side to beat Everton at their new stadium. We will wait and see if that happens, but good luck to Mansfield as we're recording this. We will obviously touch on the draw, I suppose, as and when it happens. I think it's in a couple of weeks. It's spread over 2 weeks, the next round, due to the entrance of the European side. So but we shall wait and see how that develops. As a Lincoln fan, kind of hoping for maybe Manchester United, should they beat Grimsby tonight, or a big away day would be nice, wouldn't it?
It's optimistic that Manchester United are ever going to beat Grimsby at this moment in time.
Don't. We'll see. We'll wait and find out. Right, let's move on to the predictions. A bit more time to spend really talking about the predictions this week, because last week we spent most of our time talking about the midweek action. No midweek games for League One. But Cardiff versus Plymouth, 2 teams with contrasting starts to the season. Cardiff, not the only unbeaten side, but the side with the best record, sitting top of the league after 5 games. Plymouth, a win last week against Blackpool has semi-quelled some of the anger, but it is still not the best start to the season for the Pilgrims. We'll talk about them first, Plymouth Argyle. We always knew it would be a tough... I think we always knew it would be a tough start to the season with the losing mentality. It's whether they can use that scrape of a 1-0 win to build some positive momentum.
Yeah, and I think it's always going to take time for when you've got so many new bodies coming into the squad, and it was heavily seen by, I think, the whole League One family, shall we say, that Plymouth needed a new number 9. They've got Lauren Tolaj from Port Vale, who scored 16 goals, I think it was last season, for Vale in their promotion season. So I think he's a really well-rounded striker. It's a lot of money, shall we say. £1.2 million is a lot of money for a player this is his first season at League One football. Like, you look at the rumoured fee for Romain Borrell, it's fairly similar, and Borrell was proven at League One last season. It also shows how the market's completely changed in League One. We're talking £1 million strikers in the third tier of England, when a lot of clubs are just looking for these free agents. Like, I'll use Orient, you can use Exeter, Northamptons. They're all just looking for free agents and loans. So completely different perspectives on the market. In terms of last week, obviously a clean sheet is massive for them. I think me and you obviously have watched Alex Mitchell play for our own teams, and you don't get much better in terms of a leader and a no-nonsense type defender in League One. He's not the best ball player, but if you want someone to head it, kick it, and just be a really solid defender, Alex Mitchell's your man at League One level. So he does add that sort of pedigree to the back line. In terms of expected goals, Plymouth are currently 16th. We can finally start using stats at this point in the season. They sit 16th in there. So it's going to take a bit of I still think it's going to take time for Plymouth to adjust, firstly, with so many new bodies. I think we're starting to see glimpses that they are starting to find their feet. Obviously, they got knocked out of the cup last night on penalties, but that was a squad rotation type event. I still think they need another number 9 short. I don't think Pebble, who was at Southend, I believe, last season, is ready for League One. Osaini looks okay as like a bit part player. Tolaj, obviously, they've spent a lot of money on, but maybe if they got like a younger or another type, I call it the big brute of a striker, the one that's been around League One. I'm going to pull a name out of the hat. Connor Wycombe, for example, somebody like a Connor Wycombe, regardless of his injury troubles, just someone who knows how to score goals and is a bit of a different type of striker, I think will be useful for Plymouth. But like we said, clean sheet last week, positive sort of momentum now behind them going into a very tough game at the Cardiff City Stadium.
Obviously, both sides relegated from the Championship last season. Their record over the 2 seasons they both shared in the Championship, it started off with a 2-2 draw back in December 23 on Boxing Day. And then a couple of weeks later, Plymouth Argyle beat them 3-1. And then the standout result was when Cardiff City beat them 5-0 last season in October. And then earlier this year, on the 22nd of February, a 1-1 draw. So 2 draws and then a win apiece. Cardiff with the home advantage in this one. And I think they've kind of taken us a bit by surprise. As you say, 5 games now, so we can start looking at form guides and things like that. And they sit top of the form table, as they do the regular table.
Shocking, isn't it, that?
It is, isn't it? It's incredible how stats have no meaning early on this season. But it is a half-12 game, so we kind of know what they can either deliver or they can be really dull. What do you reckon of Cardiff then this season? They look good, don't they?
Yeah, I've been really, really impressed. And I think out of possession's most impressive. Least goals conceded with 1. They've conceded 3.8 XG conceded, which is the second best in the league. Nathan Trott has been outstanding for them in goals prevented. Looks a really shrewd acquisition from Copenhagen. Obviously, he spent time at West Ham's academy as well. So the big one for me that's really impressed me is Dylan Lawler, who's recently signed a new contract. He's keeping Callum Chambers out the side, and we're talking Callum Chambers that played for Arsenal. He's keeping him out the side. Capaccio at right back as well. Really impressed with him. Obviously, Ollie Tanner's a big loss on the right-hand side. You've got the two Colwell brothers in the middle as well. They complement each other really well. Obviously, David Turnbull went off injured last week, which was a bit of a blow in terms of this is when we think they'll get stretched, when injuries start to happen. Can they bring through another breed of young players? Can they maybe sign some more experience? Chris Willock obviously put the defender on his backside when they played Luton with a lovely finish as well. So there's quality throughout that Cardiff lineup. And maybe we were a bit pessimistic at the start of the season when we said, no, so much negative momentum behind them. But still early days, very early days. And it's waiting to be seen if injuries do catch up with them. And what we've got to realise is we're 5 games into a brand new era at Cardiff as well in terms of how they build up in possession and out of possession. And it takes analysts probably 3 or 4 games to pick up these patterns. So when we get to, I don't know, October, November time, can Barry
Will
Murphy
they be as
adjust?
effective? Yeah.
Yeah, can he adjust his tactics to get the better of the opposition?
Yeah.
So we'll wait to be seen. But an excellent start for Cardiff. Let's not beat around the bush.
Probably the standout game in League One this weekend, as I mentioned, a 12:30 kickoff, which kind of feeds into my scoreline prediction for this one. I'm going to go 1-0 Cardiff.
Okay.
Purely because you look at Cardiff, they don't score the most goals. They've only scored, I say don't score the most goals when you compare them to Huddersfield, who are below them, and Mansfield, who are ninth. You know, they've only scored 7 this season. And you have to go all the way down to Doncaster in 5th for actually find a team who have scored less than them in the opening 5 games. So they're not prolific goal scorers at Cardiff City, but they have a tight defence. They've got 4 clean sheets already this season. They've not conceded in their last 4 games. The only goal they've conceded was to Peterborough United on the opening day of the season. So I've gone 1-0 for this one.
Okay, I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I think Plymouth will pick up their first away point of the season. But like you say, Cardiff are impeccable defensively. So I think it'll be a game with not many chances, shall we say.
At least it's not the longest journey for Plymouth. Still quite long for everyone else, but not the longest journey for them. Moving on to forgive my geography, people, but I think this is quite a close match, isn't it?
Geography again.
Not using my rough memory of the Yorkshire area. Barnsley versus Huddersfield. Sorry, Barnsley versus Huddersfield. Barnsley started off quite well, but defeat last time out at Wimbledon, which, as I know as a Lincoln City fan, is apparently a tough place to go this season. As for Huddersfield, top goal scorers in the league level with Mansfield Town, and they've got back to winning ways with back-to-back wins against Doncaster and Stevenage. Huddersfield Town, we expected them to have their mojo. They seem to be finding it, albeit not as effective. They're not sweeping teams aside as I think we expected them to.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the massive thing for me is the clean sheets. They've kept 4 in their
which I don't think we
games.
expected, did we? I think we expected them to be high scoring, high conceding, almost like a more effective Peterborough. I think
100%.
We were getting.
Yeah, and if you look at the Blackpool game as the standout, they lost 3-2, but they've gone back to basics and they've now kept 2 clean sheets in a row. More importantly, we like our head-to-heads, and I think you can pick up a bit from head-to-head records. There's always bogey teams in football for teams. Barnsley have lost their last 5 meetings between them and Huddersfield. And obviously Barnsley's home form was appalling, I think it's fair to say, last season. There seems to be a bit more confidence and swagger about Barnsley this year. The joint highest scorers, big chances created, especially in the league, with 13, along with Wigan. They've won and drawn their first 2 home games. I do like what Conor Hourihane's doing. He's got a bit more of an attacking flair, shall we say, to Barnsley. I think last year they were a bit regimented under Darryl Clark, I think it's fair to say. And Hourihane seems to have released all of the shackles over the summer, brought in a lot more youth, added a bit of pace to the front line as well. But we know what Huddersfield are like. They didn't go down this route. They went down ready-made League One players, players who they've got one of probably the deepest squad in League One. They remind me a bit of Birmingham from last year in terms of how deep their squad was. 2 players for every position in terms of player roles as well, which is massive for them. So it's a difficult game to call because Barnsley have been impressive so far this season, but they did lose their last game to Wimbledon, and that's no offence to Wimbledon, who have been mightily impressive, which we'll talk about later. I'm going to go the Huddersfield 2-1 victory, I think, in this one.
That was the one that was the scoreline that was kind of in my mind at the time. I'm going to back Huddersfield a little bit more and go 2-0. I think, like you say, they've got that defensive stability now, which all good teams are built from the back forward. No matter what you do up front, you need to have that solid defence. And I know we know what Barnsley are like at home. They're very mix and match at this point. Wait to see if they can actually build some solid home form this season. I have checked, by the way. It's only about a 35 to 40 minute drive between the 2 places. So I class that as a derby, at least by Lincoln City standards. Wigan against Stockport. Wigan, who have had a very mess start to the season, really, from what we expected them. I think we kind of expect them to be in around the playoffs at the minute. They are only 3 points off it, which I suppose is not too far in the grand scheme of things. And Stockport, they had a little blip, didn't they? Draw against Orient, defeat to Bradford City. They got pecked by the chickens, or whatever the Bradford fans are saying these days. But an incredible comeback win against Burton. We have to acknowledge that at the weekend with 10 men as well. Shows the quality they've got, even if they don't have the numbers. And Stockport, they just need to have that run of games, don't they, that most sides have at the start of the season to build a successful foundation, don't they? That's what it's about for them, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think the alarming thing for me with Stockport, though, is how good they were defensively last year in terms of limiting teams to creating chances. And their defence hasn't changed too much, realistically. It's not changed a lot. They're the third worst in terms of XG conceded in the league, behind Rotherham and Blackpool with 8.2. That is a trend they need to buck up quickly. I know they played last week with 10 men, which won't help that stat, but you can't concede so many high quality chances in this league when you're playing a better team, and Wigan are a better team than Burton. Let's put it that way. And if you look at the other end of the pitch in terms of the XG they've had, they sit slap bang in mid-table with 5.3, which is the same as Lincoln. It's less than Port Vale, who only have got the 2 goals this season, which is the golf in quality. It's the same as Plymouth, it's the same as Orient, and it's near enough the same as AFC Wimbledon and Exeter. So they're surrounded by teams who are a lot lower in the table. So you could say they've got a bit lucky this early stage in the season. I know they could lose this weekend and they could be bottom half. They could be. It's really early in the season, but I like to look at these stats. Like, they're 1 XG off Stevenage as well. So I think we're at the point now where they start to paint a picture. And I always say stats always eventually catch up with you. There's always 1 or 2 teams that buck that trend. Like we had Reading last year, who was 17 positions above where they should have been, roughly. So I do think stats do catch up with you. And I still really like the look of Wigan. Most big chances created in the league. I think Ryan Lowe is the best manager in the league. They need to be a bit more consistent, and I still think they need a bit more depth to their squad, where Stockport probably have that depth, I think, already. I think you've got Nathan Lowe and you've got Carl Wootton leading the line. That's impeccable. You've got Malik Mothersill. You've got Callum Camps. You've got Owen Moxon. So they've got quality all over the pitch. So for me, this is one of my favourite games of the weekend. You could say this is also a Greater Manchester derby. I'll probably get in trouble for that, but they're both in the north.
Let's
they're in
stop
the northwest region.
Things derbies. Jeez, we're in trouble this week.
We're going to be in trouble again.
I think the game comes at a bad time though for both teams, doesn't it? Because they both want to get in a run of form.
Yeah,
but a draw doesn't do either of them favours. But then obviously defeat does one team much less. And you can say that about any game, but with both of these sides having ideas of pushing for top 6 automatic promotion this season, and the likes of Huddersfield and Cardiff are already 5 points above where Wigan are.
Yeah.
And Stockport lose this, they could easily be 5 points behind them already, which is not an insubstantial gap, is it?
No.
In terms of predictions for this one, I'm going to back a draw, which is probably dangerous because we all know draws don't tend to happen very often, but I can't back either side, really. I'm going to go 2-2. I think it'll be quite an entertaining game, this one.
I very nearly went for 2-2. I went for 2-1 to Wigan, and I'm basing that purely off stats, near enough.
Okay, fair enough.
So one of these stats games has got to get me some points.
Well, we'll find out. Blackpool versus Bolton. We're not going to say a huge amount of Blackpool. I think a lot of that was said on the review show the weekend. So make sure you go back and listen to Seb and Jamie's take on that and on the managerial situation there. For Bolton, they're doing all right.
They're stuck here forever, aren't they, Bolton?
They just feel like, we kind of expected them to have a bit of momentum. They didn't look too bad in their defeat to Stockport County. And then obviously you're thinking, they beat Plymouth Argyle. That's a decent result. At the time, we were thinking that, maybe not so much now. But a 1-1 draw against Barnsley, 1-1 draw against Reading, and a 1-1 draw against Lincoln City. They needed literally a last-minute goal to get a draw against Lincoln City, who sat back for the majority of that game and literally invited pressure. They changed formation to invite pressure from Bolton, and it still took until the 99th minute for them to force an own goal. So Bolton, I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is that will actually turn them into a playoff chasing side. We thought they would do with some of the signings. I mean, I thought Ethan Aran going there, as a Lincoln City fan, that was purely surely a signal of intent for them to be pushing to get promotion this season. But it's just not working out for them, is it at all, really?
No, something's not clicked in that final third yet. They've got quality. You've got Sissoko and Kozia Dewberry either side. You've got Randall behind Mason Burstow, who has not really had, I suppose, the run of games to kickstart his career in his early career, shall we say. So this is probably his first proper go at a league, which is a risk when you're a promotion-chasing team. Let's put it that way. The pressure at Bolton is huge because of what happened 15 years ago when they were a Premier League side chasing Europe.
Yeah.
So there is pressure. What I like about Bolton is they remind me a lot of Orient early last year. They're an areas team. They get into really good areas and they can't finish the dinner. They've had
do you expect them to click at some point this season then, yeah?
I do, yeah. They've got 135 touches in the opposition box, which is the joint second most with Doncaster, and only Wycombe have more, but that's only one more. So I do think something will click with Bolton. I think there's too much quality in that front line. I personally think they should never have got rid of Aaron Collins. If you could have had Aaron Collins with Burstow, with Kozia Dewberry and Sissoko, with Arahan and Simmons behind, that's an impeccable spine, near enough a spine of a team. You've got Sharman Lowe in goal, then got Conway at left back, Osei Tutu at right back. I think it's a really, really good side that Bolton have. Yeah. So I do think it's just a matter of time before they click. And very quickly, I can't really expand on what Seb and Jamie said on Monday. It's crunch time for Steve Bruce because I suspect their game's going to be called off next week because of internationals. So there's a 2-week gap, and
we know what can happen there.
Yeah, and Steve Bruce was appointed on the 3rd of September last year, so Blackpool aren't adjourned to making very snappy early managerial decisions.
So we'll wait and find out. In terms of predictions, it's hard to kind of back either side. I think Bolton will nab it with a 1-0 away win. I can't see that it's been particularly high scoring.
I can. I've gone for 3-1 to Bolton. But Blackpool, I'm really surprised how bad Blackpool have been defensively. Let's put it that way. Yeah. They've signed Horsfall, they've got Casey, they've got Hiekwe. And they're playing Jordan Brown at right back.
Maybe he'll put a bit of, I don't know, maybe he'll shore up defensively in the hope that it kind of improves things. I don't know. We'll wait and find out.
To celebrate the start of the season, the League One Lowdown podcast has teamed up with Sky Bet to celebrate the world's wildest emotional rollercoaster, being a football fan. Sky Bet understand the beautiful chaos of being a football fan. It'll lift you up, break you down, and stitch you back together with hope. Because for all the pain of a looming relegation or a missed penalty, there's nothing quite like the absolute scenes of a last-minute winner that leaves you hugging people you've never met in your life. For me, I remember being relegated from the EFL, but I'd happily go through all that again to relive the last 7 years of 2 league titles. Being a fan isn't for everyone. Some people say it's just a game and question why we shout at the TV or stand in the pouring rain just to see our team lose 1-0. But those who get it, there's nothing quite like it. The highs and lows, the heartache and the glory. It's all part of the ride. And is it worth it? You bet it is. Not for everyone, for the fans. Sky Bet, 18+, begambleaware.org.
It's time for Rotherham fans to make the trip up the A630. A630, the 30-minute drive. This is also a derby, apparently. I'm doing my Google Maps is getting a workout today. Up the A630 for Rotherham fans. What do you make of this game? Then Rotherham, they kind of just been there again
this year, yeah.
They are just there. We kind of expected maybe a little bit more from them, but they're not doing a huge amount. Doncaster, where I think we'll put most of our analysis and our thoughts, have been all right, haven't they? They've been getting results against teams that you would expect them to get results against, the likes of Exeter, Mansfield. Drawing against Wycombe was a particular, decent score. Obviously, defeat to Huddersfield Town, but now a win against Port Vale last weekend. They're getting the results they need to, and although 8th maybe flatters them a bit given the sides they've come up against, they're the 3 points that they'll need to pick up to stay up this season, which I think at the start of the season would have been Rovers fans' aims.
Yeah, 100%. I think I've spoken to Jamie about this. They're probably a striker short. They've got Billy Sharp, they've got Joe Ironside, and they've got Brandon Hanlon. I mean, Billy Sharp's now, how old is Billy Sharp now? Got to be about 36, 37. So he's in the swan song of his career. Brandon Hanlon's never really been prolific at this sort of level. And then Joe Ironside, I don't think has ever played at this level. I could be wrong with that. So I think they're either going to go two ways about this if they're going to sign a striker at Doncaster. They're either going to go with someone called Jimmy Morgan from Chelsea. Obviously, they've got quite a good relationship with Sharman Lowe coming from Chelsea last year. So somebody like a Jimmy Morgan who spent part of the season at Gillingham. Or they're going to break the bank just a little bit and get someone called Macaulay Langstaff on loan from Millwall. Someone who's a prolific natural goal scorer. They're the two sort of ends that they could go.
That have been rumoured with,
It just depends how ambitious the board are this year, because Grant McCann's an excellent manager. They seem to have kept that momentum going from last year. They've got a really good spine of a team as well. So it will be interesting to see if Doncaster can sort of keep that sort of positive vibe going around that football club. But for Rotherham, we had a couple of Rotherham fans last week saying, why didn't we include Matt Hamshaw in our predictions to be sacked early doors? So there's a little bit of unrest, shall we say, from certain Rotherham fans. A lot of them defended Matt Hamshaw, and then we had a few that, he needs to go, quite frankly. So it's a disappointing start. Obviously, they've played a game less than everyone else with their game against Burton being postponed because of a cup game. So it is going to be a game I think Rotherham mustn't lose, shall we say, especially away from home against a newly promoted side. But I do think, even though Doncaster have only scored 5 goals so far this season, and Rotherham have only scored 4, so it's 1 per game each, I'm going to go a 1-1 draw for this one.
Yeah, I can see the thinking. I think Doncaster probably nick it, which annoys me because Jamie's building up this quiet confidence, isn't he? Yeah. He's getting quietly confident. He's getting very happy. When Lincoln could have gone to penalties last night, he was saying Doncaster were too good for penalties, and he's giving it the big talk. So but I'm gonna have to back him there. I think I'll go 1-0 Donny on this one. Final game before we get to our fan feature is Bradford against AFC Wimbledon. I don't think we're going to spend too much time on this fixture, just because we've said a lot about Bradford this season already. I feel like what we would end up repeating a lot of what we've said about them already. Their player of the season so far for me has been the social media intern, has been absolutely loving it. AFC Wimbledon, again, some impressive results, beating Lincoln, beating Reading and beating Barnsley, probably highlights, and their home form will obviously be key to them this season. The only defeat so far at home is to Cardiff, who topped the table at this early stage. So I'm not going to say a huge amount more. I'll just offer my prediction on this one. I think Bradford will edge it 2-1 in this one, and I look forward to seeing social media flooded yet again with more chicken gifs.
Our comment section is just going to be full of chicken gifs now, you know that.
Which, do you know what, is fine. Please send them in. I want to see which one is the favourite. Let us know your favourite.
Yeah.
On social media or on YouTube, and we'll have a little bit of a joke and decide our favourite for next week's.
Yeah, so we're hoping to get 24 in our comment section or on Twitter, so we can vote for our favourite. I've gone for 2-0 to Bradford. They'll keep that unbeaten run going to start the season.
We'll just take a little bit of a break then. Whilst you're scrolling through those comments, leaving your favourite, make sure you hit subscribe. Like the video as well, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another episode of the League One Lowdown. We're going to head to our fan feature, which this week is all about tickets, Sam.
Yeah, one of my favourite topics. I said this was brewing last week. So I sent out a poll, because we all know that Premier League away tickets are capped at 20 quid.
Yeah.
Now, there was a Bradford fan who commented on the poll I put out on our Twitter saying it costed him 30 quid for a ticket to Cardiff last week, £27 for a ticket, and then £1.50 for a handling fee Gotta love the handling
Jesus.
fees. It's just an automated system.
The handling fee of an online system, yeah.
We've got, in the comments of the Twitter page, we've got a Northampton fan coming to Leyton Orient this weekend. So my club are in this bracket of me moaning. It's cost him £30 plus postage to go to our game this weekend. And it cost me £31 to go to Mansfield last weekend. Now, I fully appreciate that football clubs are losing 2, 3, and in some cases 5, 6, 7 million pounds. I fully accept that. In the grand scheme of things, clubs, if they downed their ticket prices by, like if clubs are at 30 quid, let's say they down them to 20 quid, which I personally think is the reasonable, and 85% of the 287 votes we had on our social media agree that League One ticket prices should be capped at £20 max. I have a fear that we are pricing out a lot of, number one, younger fans from football, because when you're at the ages between, I know some clubs do like kids for a fiver, kids for a quid and stuff like that, but the adults still got to pay 30, 40 pounds. Let's say £30 is the average for a ticket. So if they've got 2 kids and maybe their spouse also wants to come along, that's 65 quid? So for a family to go to a football game for a third tier game. And like I said, I do appreciate clubs are losing money. But if you down your ticket price by a tenner, and I'll use Wigan as a good example. I know Wigan's a rugby town. The ground's never full. If you downed your ticket price by a tenner, you more than likely get a lot more fans that just turn up. Oh, football for 20 quid. I'll go to a game of football. I'll get a pie and a pint or whatever, and I'll spend 30 quid on a day out. I have a feeling a lot more people would go to a game for £20, where if you're looking at a game and it's 30 quid, it's like 30 quid plus, I don't know, 5, 6 quid travel, plus me parking, plus me food. You're looking at 50 quid. I just think we're getting to a stage where working people can't afford to go and watch their football team play. And for a lot of people, especially nowadays, football is their break from the real world now. Everyone has work, and it's stressful. They have families, they have problems, and football is that break from reality, so to speak. And I do feel we're just sort of pushing people aside because clubs are losing 4, 5, 6 million pounds. And a lot of clubs are, like my club's in the bracket, and I've been open and honest that I think it's just ridiculous. And the excuse is given is we are a London-based club and the costs are higher. I accept that. But like the top of our East stand's never full. Well, down the price to 20 quid. I bet that'll be full then. And I just think bums on seats and getting people in the door, especially younger fans, should be a priority for football clubs than, let's make an extra, I don't know, £20,000 on match sales, because I don't think the gaps or the overheads are that high. But something needs to be done, I think, for the whole football finance, doesn't it? We can't be the fan can't be expected to fund millionaire, like they're millionaire owners at the end of the day. So something needs to be done either with wage structures in football, because that's where the fundamentally the most of the money goes is wages. Like we've got clubs in the National League South, for example, paying £1,500 a week for players. It's just ridiculous. I
think it's one of them that we obviously know the football regulator is coming in. That was voted in recently, and it maybe is one of the things that will be looked at. Obviously, we know that football itself needs to become more sustainable. That is a huge thing, and I think as football fans, as bad as some owners can be, we also have to appreciate that us as, I suppose, the average person, myself included, I couldn't imagine losing £3 million a year.
Yeah.
You know, that is, you know, we have to, as much as we criticise some owners, rightfully so, we also have to be thankful that we have some good owners in the game, and we need
100%.
to support them out. But yeah, there is an element of how do we look after the average fan?
Yeah.
And whether it is a need for regulation to catch up. Like you say, there is that regulation at the Premier League, but why is that not pushed further down? It kind of feels like there's a loophole there that needs to be closed off effectively.
Yeah, 100%.
It's kind of what it feels like. So that is our fan feature brought to you by Sky Bet. We will finish off this preview then by looking at the remaining 6 games for this weekend, starting with Burton against Luton. Now, Burton have been a bit so-and-so this season, I wouldn't say they've been particularly bad. Obviously, it sucks to lose to Stockport in the manner they did, but when they played Lincoln, they managed to shut them out for most of the game. They feel like a young squad that's learning, even though I know they've brought in a bit more experience this summer. I'm not particularly ringing any alarm bells about them this season, like I think a lot of people were ahead of the season. In terms of Luton, for them, maybe not the start of the season they would have wanted. 2 defeats in their opening 5 games, but yet to draw a game, winning their other 3. But defeat last time out against Cardiff in a match that they didn't look bad. They didn't look great either,
No.
I think it's fair to say.
No, so these sides have only met 4 times in the history of Luton Town and Burton Albion.
Oh, yeah.
And Burton have won 3 of them.
Oh,
But they've won 3 of them.
Not the way around you expected, is it?
They met each other for the first time in 2014 in League 2, and then in 2019, both in League 1. I've got to admit, I've been quite disappointed with Luton so far this season. Not just in terms of in front of goal. Their XG created is 4.8, which is the 19th best in the league. So that's terrible. Defensively, they look okay. Josh Keeley kept them in the game against Cardiff. Obviously, they brought Jerry Yates in for a couple of £1 million. He's not got firing just yet. He's kind of adapting to what Matt Bloomfield wants from his number 9s. I think Matt Bloomfield's a very good manager. I don't think it's all down to him. I just think there's no penetration in that Luton midfield. There's nobody that can break a line with a pass. It's the same in defence. I don't think there's anyone
Luton had if only they had a ready-made striker at League One level that, I don't know, could score goals from nothing. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that is my biggest concern for Luton. I just don't think they've got a player. Like, I know they've got Isaiah Jones, who's been injured and still there. I just at the moment they don't have somebody that can break a line with a pass in my head. Like, they've got Jordan Clark, but I don't think he is that type of midfielder. He's a dribbler, but he can't break a line with a pass. That's just my opinion, and that's where the concern comes from Luton. You're relying on how good you are defensively and winning a game 1-0. And Josh Keeley's kept them in a couple of games this season. So that's where my worry is for Luton. And going to Burton, if you look at the grounds Luton have been in the past 2 years, Manchester City, Manchester United, Anfield, you're going to a ground which holds, 6,000 people? And the attendance will be about 2 or 3?
Yeah.
It's mentally, that's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a tougher game than people will think, purely for the mental side. So I'm going with a 1-1 draw.
You're back in Burton Albion to get back to winning ways. The thing is with Luton, as you mentioned, their goal scoring is something to worry about. Only 6 sides have scored less than them at this early stage of the season, and 3 of them are the bottom 3 in the league in Port Vale, Reading and Peterborough United. I can see where you're coming from with the Burton angle, and I do think Burton have got something in them. I do think Luton will win 1-0.
Okay.
I've gone for quite a low-scoring week, actually. That might change in the next few matches, but I just think Burton are a very difficult side to break down.
Yeah.
You know, I saw it firsthand yesterday with Lincoln City. It took until the 89th minute and a decent strike from Ben House to break them down in the Carabao Cup. I know different sides, different teams that will play the weekend, but still, tight game, that one. Exeter against Peterborough. Peterborough United are just maybe
woeful.
Maybe we all got a bit of, I forget what team it was, but we all just thought they're too big to go down.
Yeah.
And really, I know it's early for the alarm bells to be sounding, and I know they got a draw last time out against Bradford, but the alarm bells are ding-a-linging. That is for sure. They are absolutely.
I just went to our background music to see if we had a bell to play.
They are absolutely. We need one every time that there's a team to panic about. Ding, 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 ding. Exeter lost one. So lines up perfectly for them. They might win this weekend, and I think I'm going to back that. I'm going to back them to get a 2-0 win. Lost 2-0 to Northampton, so why not back them to win 2-0 against a Peterborough United side that no one has scored less than them. Very few teams have conceded more than them.
I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Okay, bit more excitement. And Exeter's first draw of the season.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just think it'll be a draw, but I didn't think it'd be 1-1, and the next one up is 3-3. So we'll go in the middle. I don't really have a reason why. I'm not going to lie.
Expert analysis here on League
Oh,
One.
yes.
That's what you subscribe for. Leyton Orient against Northampton. Leyton Orient mid-table, 13th place. Northampton 18th place, getting their first win of the season. Last time out against Exeter, and safely in that 18th place, just a handful of points above the relegation zone, where they probably will be for the rest of the season. I don't think they'll get anything from this game, though. I back Orient to have a strong home record this season, 2-0 probably.
Okay, I've gone for 2-1, and that's purely because we can't defend set pieces. But if you like your history, Orient have only won 2 of the last 12 meetings between Leyton Orient and Northampton Town. My biggest concern. We can't defend set pieces. It's a Kevin Nolan side, so that's going to be physical immediately. And obviously, I think there needs to be a reaction, obviously, after last week. A 4-1 drubbing away from home. Especially considering we don't really concede 4. We concede 3 on occasion, but we're usually always in a game. But to concede 4, it was horrible, shall we say. But I've put Orient to win 2-1, and that will be my wild card game as well. I've backed my own team for the second week in a row as a wild card.
The most tenuous derby connection of the day so far as Lincoln City welcome Mansfield Town. Look, Lincoln is in the middle of nowhere. Having lived there, we don't have much to talk about in terms of derbies other than Grimsby. So this is as heated as it gets with Mansfield. An interesting game. This one, Lincoln look to, despite apparently having no squad, as a lot of people have rumoured, have actually done all right. I think there's 3 signings in the last week, including I don't want to say a much sought after Ukrainian talent, Varfolomiev, but he made his debut in the Carabao Cup. Looks to be quite good. A ready-made Ethan Arahan replacement, I think, and they've spent good money on him. Okoronkwo on loan from Everton seems to be quite decent as well. And Oscar Thorne, who they signed yesterday, seems to be a bit more of a project player. Mixed responses on him, but by all in all, a promising young player. We'll wait and see how Lincoln's squad develops. Obviously, sold Ethan Hamilton as well this week. But Mansfield sitting 9th, so just 2 places behind Lincoln, but on a run of 3 wins in a row, so technically one of the form teams.
Yeah, the only thing I'll put Mansfield down to is obviously they had that cup win, didn't they? They get drawn against Everton. Yeah. There's something to play for there. You want to be playing at a brand new 60,000 seater stadium. So there's that extra little bit of motivation. Yeah. And obviously there's the come down of that going to Sincil Bank. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
And Lincoln will have had 24 hours extra as well to prepare. I'm going to back Lincoln. We'll wait and see if they ever sign a left back this transfer window. That has obviously been
Ali Kwekwe is available.
It was the first player that left in Sean Rowan this summer, and they've still not signed left back. Michael Scabala saying they're still working on it. So it seems to have been quite the hard puzzle to solve. But I suppose we know what Lincoln are like. They are meticulous, if anything, when it comes to signings. So I'll back Lincoln 2-0. And why not? Let's in a week where I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen, I'll put that as my wild card as well.
Okay, so we're both back to our own teams. This is interesting.
Both back to our own team. We should probably only allow ourselves to do that once a month from now on, I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can we introduce new rules this season? From next week, we're only allowed to back our own team once.
Yep. Well, because next week will be September, so that's fine.
Yes. New rule mid-season, it's fine.
And if you have any rules that you want us to have a look at implementing for this, let us know in the comments.
Reading versus Port Vale. Reading 23rd, Port Vale 22nd. Definitely a 6-pointer. Is it again? Port Vale we kind of expected. They are in for a dogfight this season. They will be disappointed that they didn't get points against they got a point against Burton, but not 3, and they lost at home to Doncaster Rovers. They are in for a fight of their life this season, especially when you think about the likes of Reading and Wycombe and Blackpool and Plymouth. You all expect them to pick up at some point. And the teams that we expected to be down there, the likes of Doncaster, Wimbledon, Exeter, Burton, have all got at least 1 win so far this season. Port Vale are in for a dogfight. and travelling to Reading is not going to be easy, despite Reading's struggles themselves this season.
Yeah, I would agree. And my pre-season thoughts on Vale, which got criticised by a Port Vale fan, have come to fruition. 2 goals in 5 games, and they've lost their best striker.
Oof.
They can't score goals. It's football. You have to. I'm going to sound like Michael Owen here. You don't score
You're
goals.
You're
you
going
don't
to do a
win football
Callum.
matches. Yeah, you
You're
don't score
going
goals.
to
You
do a
don't win football
Callum from the
matches.
last couple of weeks, yeah.
And as good as a manager Darren Moore is, like out of possession, I think Port Vale are a pretty well-oiled unit. To be honest, I watched them against Cardiff, and I thought they were excellent out of possession.
But you can't pass the ball into the net, especially in League One, can you?
No, so I'm going with a 1-0 Reading win, but I think Noel Hunt will become under pressure, especially if they lose this game, because that'll be 6 without a win to start the season. And the way they kind of fell away towards the end of last season as well, they've obviously invested quite heavily in the squad as well in the summer. So there's that good fortune of how he sort of just came in and they kind of sort of continued to an extent their run. And obviously with all the bad off the pitch stuff that happened last year, that kind of papers over it a little bit for me. So I've gone for 1-0 to Reading.
Yeah. Whether Noel Hunt is the person to take Reading to the Championship, not sure personally, but I think he's a decent manager, at least for League One level. So we'll wait and see if he can stabilise them this season. I think there is an element of a come down from last season.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of what will, I guess, summarise their situation. But they are on an upwards trajectory. So I'll back Reading 2-0, I think. It's one of them. You can see Port Vale conceding, but you can't really see them scoring. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I say that Reading have conceded 4 more than Port Vale this season, so maybe that's just my old stereotypes of both of those teams catching up to me. Final game: Stevenage against Wycombe. Stevenage, who find themselves in the lofty heights of 3rd.
Yeah.
And their fans will be getting nosebleeds very soon. If it wasn't for them to get their first defeat of the season, against Huddersfield Town, 1-0 they lost last weekend. As for Wycombe, getting that last-minute draw against Reading, 2-2 that game ended, adding to their only other point so far this season, which was against Doncaster Rovers. So disappointing start to the season for Wycombe. If you'd have told me that there'd have been 10 points difference between these two sides after the opening 5 games, I'd have probably predicted it to be the other way around. But here we are. Thing is, can Stevenage bounce back? Probably.
It's difficult, yeah.
Can Wycombe get any momentum with the amount of chopping and changing you imagine that squad to have? Who knows?
That's the big point you make there. It's the chopping and changing of the squad, isn't it? There's no sort of continuity.
Do you know what I mean? When you've got so many players, it is impossible to figure out your... for as much as I criticise Lincoln City at times, and it is a fair criticism to make, I think, of the large squad they had last season, there was an element of not knowing what your best 11 was.
Yeah.
Having a smaller squad allows a manager to even adapt a system easier to find what your best 11 is. Your best 11 might not fit the tactic you imagine it to. And credit to Scapala, he's managed to do that, at least at a Lincoln City level. It's probably happened at other clubs.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, when you try so many players, you have to go through so many different combinations to try and find the combinations that work. You've only got a set amount of time to do that in pre-season, and then by the time you're actually into the season, they're still making signings. It is impossible to figure out what your best 11 is. By the time they might have done it, it might be a Christmas present. Do you know what I mean? It's going to take them so long, Wycombe, I think.
And with Wycombe, they'll probably go and sign another 8 in January again.
Oh, God.
So, the big thing, I think, is what we've just mentioned, is for Stevenage, everyone knows their jobs. They're a pretty well-oiled machine. Alex Ravel's got them a bit more free-flowing and a bit more flair in the final third, which is really good to see, but they've kept that rigidness in defence as well. So I've gone for Stevenage to beat Wycombe 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see that being a draw at the same time.
I can't believe I'm going to do this. I think I've got to abandon my prediction for Stevenage to go down already, I think. Because I think a lot of my predictions so far this season have kind of been based on what I thought at the start of the season and kind of predicting that to happen, which is why I've predicted Stevenage to lose quite a bit. I'm going to back them here, 2-0. I just see Wycombe struggling at least until October.
Yeah, I'm happy you've mentioned that because at some point when I get time, I'm going to go back through all our predictions, probably on match week 10, and I'll bring up the table on the screen of what our table would look like after 10 games based on what we've predicted. So, i.e., if you've predicted Cardiff to win 9 out of 10, they'd have 27 points. That's just an example. So I think that would be interesting to see, and then compare, especially at the end of the season, what our predicted tables were, and then the actual what we predicted as results table is.
Yeah,
and that'd be quite interesting.
I will wait and see. I'm not very sure how I'll fare. But anyway, that brings to an end this preview episode of the League One Lowdown. If you did enjoy hearing about not just your own team, because I know people like to hear about their own specific team, but if you enjoyed hearing about every team in League One, as I think you should do, because it's nice to hear discussions about other teams and maybe get some scouting in for future games, then make sure you do subscribe, like this video as well. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss an episode of League One Lowdown. Follow us on whatever podcast streaming service you use as well. And we will see you, Seb and Jamie will be back for the weekend show this weekend, and we'll be back next week. See you soon.
And the beautiful chaos of being a football fan, the highs and lows, the heartache and the glory. It's all part of the ride, and we wouldn't trade it for anything. Not for everyone, for the fans. Sky Bet, 18+, gambleaware.org.